Hi, this is Nolan from Benchmark, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to set up your GeoMeasure Nano 7 as a UHF base. So what I'm going to do to begin here is I've got my FieldGenius project open, and I'm going to click on the Select Instrument option. That's going to open up the aptly named Select Instrument menu here. And what I'm going to do is in the bottom right corner, I'm going to click on Add Profile, and now I need to select from the menu GNSS Reference. With that selected, I'm going to make sure my make is set to GeoMeasure and that my model is Nano 7. Now I can give the profile a name. In my case, to make it a little easier when I'm reconnecting later on, I'm going to change mine to have a base tag on it just to make it easier to find. And once that's set, I'm going to click on Create. Now the first thing I'm going to need to do here is initialize my Bluetooth pairing. To do that, I'm going to click on Setup Communication and make sure my connection type is set to Bluetooth. With Bluetooth being set here, I'm going to click on Search and start looking for available devices. Now, you're going to want to look for a device with the same name as the serial number on the bottom of your receiver. In my case, I know mine ends with a 52, so I'm going to select that one and click on Connect. What you should see is the Bluetooth light turn on your receiver, and if prompted, you're going to want to pair the device to your Android device. And once connected, you'll be brought back to your reference profile menu. The next step is to set up your tolerance. So click on that second option there. Now, for your base setup, the tolerance isn't really a huge deal. So you're just going to leave the defaults as they are. That's more than sufficient for most base setups. So you're going to click on Done and now set up your antenna heights. This is going to be the measured height from the point on the ground to your receiver. Now, there are two ways to measure the antenna height on the Nano 7. The first is to use the bottom of antenna mount. That's where the pole or your tribrax screws in to the receiver. Or you can use the slant height mark, which is at the side of the receiver. I prefer to use the slant height measurement on my Nano 7 base setup. That's because it's a little easier to get around the tribrac, and I'll link to a video where David shows you how to properly measure the HI of your Nano 7. But with that set here, I'm going to enter my measured height. In my case, I measured it to 1.3 meters, so I'm going to enter that in here now and click on OK to set the height. Now, with that all being set up, the next step here is to set up the reference position. So this is where the base is set up. Now, for my purposes, I'm going to be doing this over an unknown point. And for the vast majority of you, that's typically how we recommend doing it, is do your first day setup on an unknown point, and then any subsequent setups on a known point. So I'm going to go set up reference position, select observe for my average position, and start, and it's going to begin averaging my points. Now, the number of points you average won't actually make a humongous difference. You're not going to see a significantly more accurate position if you average for longer. So I typically recommend taking an average of 30 points and move on. There's not going to be a huge difference if you wait much longer than that, especially if you're tying into control. And if you're doing a relative survey, as long as you set up on the same point, it won't matter. So once you've reached the correct number of observations, you'll click on Stop and Done to set the position. Now it'll prompt you to save the point. I always recommend saving your base point. So click on Save here. And now we need to set up how these corrections are going to be sent out from the receiver by clicking on Setup Corrections. Now, there's only one option for your Nano 7 at the moment, and that is RTK via radio. If you want to use Stormcaster, do consult our other video on that. But I'm going to click on Setup Communication here, and your radio settings should already be set. If you need to double check them, click on Radio Settings here. But as long as your device is set to UHF radio module in your device port internal, click on Done. Now you'll set up your correction format. I always recommend using the latest and greatest, which is RTCM3 MSM. That'll give you by far the best performance. So make sure your message format is set to that and select Done. And with those two options set, you can now click on Start Transmitting to begin the base broadcast. And with that, you've actually set up all of the required fields for your base setup. If you do wish to record static data, you can go into raw data logging. But with that done, I'm now ready to click on Done and set up my rover to begin my survey. But for now, that is everything in today's video. That is how you set up your Nano 7 as a UHF base in Microsurvey's FieldGenius. And if you have a moment, I'd please ask you to hit that subscribe button down below. It really does help us out and helps me keep making these videos. And if you have any questions about anything you've seen in today's video or any questions about anything you've seen on our YouTube channel, please give us a call at 1-888-286-3204 or visit us on the web at bench-mark.ca.